Start a new project here, and I mean brand new. Blank screen. We're going to start from nothing, and we're going to go all the way through this. First thing I do when I get a project is, of course, we're going to have to start a new file. I'm not going to use a template. As you can see that we have some here. I'm not going to use any of those. I have my own, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to just start from ground zero. So click on Create a Blank Document. And then you'll notice your screen opens up here, shows you your origin in the center. First thing I do on my Mac is I hit Control 4, and that shows my page boundary coming in. Now every show that I work on, I ensure that the page size is the right page. And I do that by going up here to File, Document Settings, Page Preferences. And I take a peek at these first before I do anything, making sure that all my defaults are what I need them to be. Especially I make sure I turn off limit shaded render modes because I bounce in and out of rendering quite a few times using shaded. And if you have these two boxes checked and you have more than 8 lights or shadows, they're not going to show up, and it'll make you scratch your head every once in a while. So I always ensure those are set there, and I always have my full resolution displayed for bitmap and normal quality for my rotated text. Next thing that I do is I go to File, Page Setup, Printer Setup, and this is my in-house printer I have, which prints ArcD size pages. So this is the one I select. And I want to select ArcD, that's 24 by 36 inches, and I put it in landscape mode at 100% scaling. And then you're going to see when I hit OK, what happens. My page boundaries go away, obviously, because it's bigger, so I hit Control 4 again, and now I have a landscape page boundary ready to go from my design space. So now I have assured that those parameters are in place and everything is at 0, 0, which is my user origin right here. Next thing I do is I come on over to my layers. And I go ahead and it defaults in at gray snap others. I change it to show snap others. And the very first thing I do is I come down here and I right click. This is all in the object information palette. This is in the navigation palette. I right click in this box and I click new. And what this is going to be for is for the venue PDF, because this specific show does not have a CAD file in place, so we have to create one from scratch. So I'm going to create a new design layer, and I'm just simply going to call that PDF import. And I don't touch anything else here. And you can see that this layer is now created. I'm going to make sure it's active by the little check mark here. As you can see, you can make these layers active or inactive. So I want that to be active. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to import this PDF of the venue. So I'm going to come up here to File, Import, Import PDF, and I simply click Open to bring in the venue drawing. A couple parameters are going to come up that's very important. One that you always want is you want snap to geometry. You want that turned on. That way when you're doing your tracing, you're going to be able to snap to all of your corner points. You hit import and your drawing comes in. We're going to need to scale this drawing, and as you can see, this drawing here does not have a scale bar. So what you have to do most times, if you do not have a real CAD file, a Vectorworks file or DWG file, this is the process that you're going to be going through. And so we bring in the PDF of the venue, and we don't know any of the sizes. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bring in another PDF that was on the website. And that PDF does have the printed information that we need. So we're going to import that PDF to the same layer, and you don't need to snap the geometry on this, but you could, it doesn't matter. And so that PDF comes in, and let me just zoom out here. We're going to just set it over here. As you can see, this PDF gives us the information for the room size we need. The main room we're working in here is 210 by 120 feet. So that's basically all we got. And we have the low ceiling height of 16 feet. So those three pieces of information are what we're going to go off of, because sometimes that is all you have when no CAD files exist. So let's go back to our drawing. Now that we have the information that we need, these are the rooms that we're going to be drawing here. So the very next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to start from the ground up, and we're going to create a slab. So we're going to go right click into our object information palette in the navigation plane, and we are going to type in a new design layer name, slab. We're going to make sure that it is active, which it is. Vectorworks automatically defaults to whatever, when you create a new layer, it makes that layer active. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use our, right here, our 2D polygon tool that's going to create a single line polygon. And we're basically just going to trace around the exterior of the wall right here of the room that we're going to be drawing in. So we're going to activate the tool, and I'm going to go to the outside edge, and you can see how it's active here. And I hold my shift key down, which keeps the line going straight. As you can see, the line can be going off in angles, but if you hold down your shift key, it keeps it going on a 45 or a 90 degree instead of varying. So that helps you keep things straight sometimes. So I'm basically holding my shift key down the entire time that I'm outlining a room. And we're just going to go all the way around basically the yellow box that is identified for this room. All right, on the home stretch here, I believe. Yeah, here we go. Right now I'm just holding down my space bar and the left mouse button, which activates the pan tool. And here we go right back to the beginning. And you can see that I double clicked and it closed it off. Now, if you go over here to your object info palette and you scroll down, there's a button here called close. You want to make sure you click that, and it ensures that this polygon is one solid object, and that's what we want. Now we're going to zoom out here. So there is our slab. And we just built that right on top of that PDF. Another thing you can do too to help you out in this process is when you have your slab selected, you can go up here to your attributes and see right here where there's this opacity slider. You can adjust that. See, now you can see through it a little bit. Sometimes that's helpful so you can see underneath things. But for this purpose, I'm just going to leave it at 100% because I don't need to see underneath it. So what you're going to do now is go up to Modify, and this is going to create our walls. You're going to click Modify, Create Objects from Shapes. And you can see that by clicking this, it will create walls, window walls, handrails, guardrails. It creates all kinds of things. So when you click that, a box comes up that says Create Objects from Shapes. And the object type that we are wanting out of all these that you can do is down here on the bottom, walls. And there you go. Now you can offset it if you like. You can have the offset meaning you can have it to where it draws the wall on the outside of the line we drew or the inside. Now remember when we clicked the polygon, when we drew that outer perimeter, I drew it on the outside of the shown walls in the PDF. So we're going to want to make sure that we put this to the right side. So it's going to offset it to the interior of the box. And you can also click delete source of the shape, which means it's going to delete this slab. But we're going to leave it because that is a extrude. We're going to extrude that and it's actually going to be the floor. So when we do our renderings, we're actually going to have a slab floor in place to work with. So I'm going to leave it here for right now. So then you go ahead and click OK. And there's our walls. That easy. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to turn those walls to a little bit different color so you can see them better. Let's just turn them blue right now so we can see. We can really see these hardline walls. So to really see them again, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the PDF import. So all we're looking at is our walls with our slab. Now you can notice that there's a little bit of issue here. Well, we're going to fix that. That's when we started and it got a little crazy on us. That's not what we need. So you can fix that by clicking in your building shell and you're going to hit wall join. Okay, and you can click T join or L or cross. And what we're going to do is we're going to do make sure we click for you can do uncapped or capped. And we want the ends of these walls to be capped. And we're going to be doing an L because we need it to be an L. So you click the L mode and you hover your mouse over a wall and you see it turns red. And you see this one turns red. So you hover over a wall, you click your mouse button, and you drag it to this one. So you can see that now both of these walls are highlighted in red. And then when you click it, it goes away. Oh, but we still have a little bit of an issue here. So we're just going to delete that. There we go. There we have it. So there's our slab. There's our room that we're working in with our walls. I'm going to use the select similar tool, which is very powerful. So we're going to use the select similar tool. And let's look at the settings that are in here. We're going to select similar items that are the object type, which means when I click on one of these walls, it's going to select all the walls for me. And there they are. Over here in the object information palette, it tells me that we have 28 walls and they're all on the slab layer. Well, we don't want that, right? We're going to want these walls to live on a wall design layer. So you can click in layer here and you can type, click new design layer from here, or you can click it down here and click new. Either way you want to do that. So we're going to click new design layer and we're going to title this venue dash walls. It's venue dash walls. Okay, venue dash walls. So we can see our slab and we can see our walls and they are in the appropriate layers. And if we go to let's turn on our on-screen control here for our cube. Go to a right ISO. All right, there we go. You can see our slab and our walls. Let's go ahead and throw this in a little shaded view. There we go. Zoom in here. And you can grab your cube. You can hold your mouse down and you can rotate while you're in this. So there we go. That's how we've created a slab and that's how we've created a walls. And I'm going to hit my Command 5 to go back to a top plan view. And so the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put in our doors and or windows if we have any. So we're going to need to turn back our PDF import and that comes back in. So now is a really good time Or we can take that slab, that's where we're highlighted, this is our active layer, and we're going to drop that opacity down to about 50%. So we can see where our doors are in this facility. Likewise, our wall opacity is pretty thick. So let's go ahead and go to our walls, and let's take that opacity and drop it down as well. So now we can really see our doors and which way they swing here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure that we're in our venue walls layer because the doors are going to go into the walls. And we're going to pick a starting point. Let's just start up here, upper left, and work clockwise. And we can see we come to our first set of doors here, which is a double doors. So you're going to go to your building shell tool, and you're going to scroll down to your doors. Take 4. So we need to scale this drawing because it is currently not in scale. It's drawn, but it's not drawn to scale. So you're going to go to Modify, Scale Objects, Symmetric by Distance. Click this radio button so we can give Vectorworks the distance of what it currently is. So we're going to click from interior wall to interior wall. Vectorworks is reporting that it's 10 feet wide. Well, we need this new distance to be 120 feet. Okay, so once we see that, we know it's showing currently 10 feet. We need it to be 120 feet, and we want it to scale the entire drawing. Okay, and I'm just panning in, zooming in here. I'm going to go to my building shell, grab the door tool, and you can see that we have our door activated now, and it looks to be the right size now that we are scaled. So we can see it kind of over here. Let's use this one. This is a single swing door. So what you get to do is once you have your door tool activated, you hover over your wall where you want it to be, and it's going to turn red. And when it turns red, that means that it's going to associate with the wall. So you click in it one time, and then as you move your mouse left to right, you can see the door swing direction changes. Or if you move your mouse up and down, the hinge side changes. So we just simply want to match what we got going here. Right there. Right there. So we have a door that swings outward with the sweep on the bottom. And then we simply click one more time, and there's our door installed in the wall. And what I usually do is I just go around and I find all the single doors. Like here's another one right here. Zoom in, make sure it turns red. Move it around the way we want it to swing, and there we go. So I'm going to go and just do all of my single doors. Now that's all the singles. Now you can continue to drop in singles, like right here's a double, okay? But you can still use the single tool. Just make sure you're centered and that your swing is correct. Okay, but what you're going to want to do at this point is you're going to come over here to your object information palette, and you're going to want to change this. Scroll on down here, and the swing operation is a single. We want a double bipart. So we click that, and it turns into a double door. But that double door needs to be 6 feet wide, not 3 feet wide, or even wider. But you can see here, we scroll back to the object information palette, the width is 3 feet. Well, let's put that width of that door at 6 feet. Okay, and then now it looks more like what is actually realistic. I'm going to change to double doors. So again, building shell, click on door, but now we're going to want to go to our settings tab up top here and click on that and open it up. Because what we want to do is change the operation of our door from a single door to a double bipart door. And you can see over here in the 3D preview how now a double door showed up. And the width of that door, most double doors are 6 feet wide. And so we're going to make that 6 feet. And the standard height of 6'8" is a default. Now you can key in whatever you want. You can also see that you can change the door style over here, which, there's a lot of doors. We're just using a generic one. And you can change every aspect of a door. But this is just a very common general door. We're going to click OK. We're going to zoom in here. And we're going to make sure our wall highlights and drop it in. Now, according to the PDF, it looks like these might be 7-foot wide doors. It looks like the swing on this door is wider than what we have. So simply on your object information palette, you can change the width of the door to 7 feet. Okay, and that's probably more realistic. Now we need to confirm this on site to make sure that that is the case. So for all the future doors, if we don't change that in the settings, they're all going to come in at 6 feet. So I'm going to click off. Here's another double door, building shell, door, go to the settings, but this time we're going to change this to a 7-foot wide door. Some venues have 7-foot wide doors. Now you can see using the same methods, we work our way on around, looking for the double doors. I think we pretty much got them all. And that's it. That's all of our, I got one here. We got another double door. Remember, make sure that that wall turns red. There you go. Now let's turn the PDF layer off. So we can now go into a right ISO view and we can show you what it looks like. The walls all scaled with doors. And there we go. Now you can leave the doors open or closed. So if you want to open them, just pick your select similar tool, click on one of your doors, not your walls. Zoom in here a little bit tighter. There we go. It says there's 14 doors in walls. And you're going to scroll down and you're looking for a button that says Show Open 3D. And what it's going to do is it's going to open all those doors for you. And it's going to open them to the angle that we have keyed in here. As you can see, they are opening at 90 degrees. So that's a way that you can open the doors if you want to show them open. And that's all of them, or just select doors, whatever you want. And here's our building with all the single and double doors and the slab in place. So that is basically the beginning point of starting a new drawing. To recap, what we've done is we've referenced 2 different PDF documents, one that shows the facility that we're working in and another that has the data of what size the rooms are. And we drew the drawing and we scaled it. We dropped in our walls, our slab, and our doors. But one thing before we go to the next move is we're going to put in these air walls here. You can see these divided lines here are the air walls that separate the room. So we're going to go over here and we're going to create another new layer, and that's going to be called air walls. Make sure it's active. Now for air walls, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can use just a single dotted line that represents the wall, or you can make that line 3D. You can bring it up to elevation. You can draw a track. There's all kinds of things you can do. So for right now, we're just going to grab our regular line tool and we're going to change the color of it to like red. We're going to zoom in here and we're just going to drop this line right in on top of the one that's being shown in the PDF. Okay, and we're going to do that again down here. So we can separate these rooms accordingly. And you can see that in this air wall, there's doors. So actually you can use, if you want, you can use the wall tool like we have just done and put doors in. You can do that as well if you need them. If you know that factually that air wall is going to be closed and you do not need it for your event, then you probably best off to go ahead and use the real wall tool and put the doors in, because that's what reality is going to be for you. But for this exercise right here, we're just drawing in regular lines. Oh, this is actually interior walls right here. So this actually, we need to draw walls right there. But we're not even playing down here in this space. So, and what I do next is I just take all those lines that I just created, these air walls, and I'm going to make them dashed. So you can go to your pen tool and hit line type, and you can choose whatever line type you want. I just use the 01 short dash, and it'll dash it, and then I can turn that line or that pen color a color, which we already have is red, and we can also change the size, the thickness of that line. Let's make it a little bit weightier, like up to 25, so they really snap. So when we turn off our PDF import layer, you can see we now have the air walls in place. Now you remember from our PDF document, over here it said we had a wall height of what, 16 feet, I believe, for this space. Yeah, 16 feet is our low trim. So if you want, you can take those lines and you can actually put them up to where they need to be. Let's go into a front view here, and you can see they're highlighted. You can just click them and you can drag them right on up to 16 feet. And you can do that by dragging them up like I did, or you can use your move tool and type in a Y offset of 16 feet, and it would have taken them up there as well. So now if we go into a right ISO, you can see that those air wall tracks are now at proper trim. Turn the PDF off. There we go. Let's put this more of a normal perspective. Looks a little skewed. There we go. And as always, put it in 2-point perspective, which makes your vertical walls appear vertical. Much more realistic. And that's probably going to take care of what we need to do right now. So we have the room in, we have it confirmed the scale, we've got our air walls dropped in, and the next step that we can do is create another layer, and we're going to call that text. And that is for all of our labeling. And make sure it's highlighted. Turn our PDF back on so we know the actual names of these rooms. And click our text tool. And right above, we're going to type the text. And you can see it's coming in filled. So let's just go ahead and put no fill. It's really small. So let's go ahead and change our size up to like 24 point, oh, even larger actually. 48 point, that's a little better. And our wrap and tight turn off, that way it stays small. And then you can just simply drag it and put it right on top. So now that you know that's the size you want, you can simply just copy that. Command C, Command V, and then just edit that. That's number 5. There we go. Now we have our room labels. Again, we're going to turn off that PDF import, and we can see our progress up to this point. What I want to do is start talking a little bit about organization. As you can see over here in our layers, we're starting to gather layers, and you're going to gather them quickly. One thing that I do in my workflow is I always consider my layers the where. This is where we're working in the drawing, and the classes is the what, the items. So, meaning, if this is the where, I create kind of like a placeholder section. I just use some equal signs, and it's like the where is going to be what? Where are we working right now? What are we talking about? Well, this is the venue. All right, so they're kind of like label sections. And we're going to make another one that's going to be the where, and that is going to be, of course, production. And these are like general categories that we're going to use. Right now, just that's enough for right now. And as this tutorial continues, we'll keep building more. But what I do is I you can grab these over here, and you see how the stacking order right here, 1 through 8, you can grab and hold down on one of the numbers over here, and you can move it. Okay, so production. So you can see what I'm saying is like in this section here for venue, what's it going to have? It's going to have the slab, the walls, the air walls, and the text. Okay, and then like this PDF import here, I don't think I want it as part of the venue. We could actually create another section called imports, because throughout this drawing, we're going to have different JPEGs and PNGs and PDFs that we're going to be bringing in. So again, I'm going to grab the number over here in my stacking order, and I'm just going to move this all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to grab that PDF import layer, and we're going to put it down here. So you can see how we are classifying different groupings just by putting in these non-working layers. And of course, you can turn them off. With your visibility here, you can have something turned on, you can have it turned off, or you can have it grayed. So for these categories, if you will, I turn them off because they're not anything that's going to contain any data, and nor are they going to be active. And another thing you need to know about your design layer or your stacking order is that your drawing actually will stack this in the way that it's laid out here. Like the slab is going to be on the bottom, like with any facility. Okay, and then your venue walls are on top of the slab, and then your air walls are on top of the venue walls, and then your text is on the very top of everything, so you can see the names and identifications of the areas. So as you build up your design layers, it's you're going to find it's quite handy to create these sections for you to drop your layers in. Now I just do that in the layers. I don't necessarily do that in the classes, but I'll show you later about what I do in the classes to help bring greater structure in the classes. But for this principle here, this is kind of how I set up my design layers for these categories here. You'll find that it really helps you stay organized. As these drawings grow, it can become quite confusing at times, and you're going to find yourself using this search bar as your drawings grow, especially in your classes, because on some of my event drawings, I will have hundreds of different classes. And so being able to quickly type in something on the search bar, it takes you right to it, and it is a big time saver because nobody likes scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So you're going to find that search tool very valuable. Okay, let's stick with organization of this drawing. As you can see here, we have a design layer called production in the category called production. Now remember, I use my layers as the where in the drawing, and the classes are the items that exist in those locations. For example, for production, there are many elements to technical production, and so what we're going to do is we're going to begin creating our classes. So click here on your classes tab. This is one location. You can also click up here and start a new class here. You can also click down here in the blind and hit new and start a new class. So there's 3 places that you can start a new class. As I said, we are in the production layer, and we're going to start creating classes for production. So I'm just going to right click and hit new, and I'm going to start creating this new class group called production, but I'm going to put a dash after this word, which is going to create subclasses. And I'm going to start from the air up. And so what I usually do is I start with rigging. And you can see that it made a class with rigging underneath it. So now if you go back to that main group and you right click on it and click new, you can see that it auto-populates the word production in there for you. So it saves some typing. So starting from the top with rigging, our next layer down is going to be truss. And we're just going to keep on going down the line. And then of course we have lighting. And under lighting, I go one more subclass deep. I have flown lighting. I'm going to click on the lighting tab over here because I need to make another subgroup for lighting. And we have ground. All right, so you can see how this is developing here. And you can open and close these groups. So you can see that lighting has 2 subclasses, flown and ground. So we have lighting, production, under production, we have rigging, and we have truss. And go back up to production, and let's put in here audio. And video, projection. And LED walls. Sometimes they're flown, sometimes they're in the ground, but they are still part of the video world. Also in production, we have, of course, backstage. And we have front of house. And of course, we have our stage. And we have pipe and drape. You can see we can go on and on and on for all of the classes that we need. So far we've created this grouping here of classes under production, and these are the fields that we have created. Now as we continue to work on the file and items come in for the show, we can add as many classes as we need, and we can do subgroupings as many as we need. Now this is just for a general session type of show. So not only could you have in your layer system where you have production, you could have registration, you could have, of course, your breakouts, and many other areas. And so as you add your layers for the where, you're going to add your classings to support those layers. Because you're going to have all of these production elements. Most of the time, you may have them in your breakouts. And it is very nice to have this structure already set up so you can just duplicate it. You can copy this class structure into any of those layers. So for example, for your breakouts, you can have those as well already preset up. And once you get a drawing populated like this, you can save it as a template. I mean, you wouldn't save it with the venue in here, but when you get a drawing set up with all your layer and class structures that are generic, you can just go up to File, Save as Template, and it's going to give it an STA extension and put it in the folder where you need it to go. And then so for every project that you start, when you open it, you're automatically going to have all of these classes and layers set up for you to start your project. And that's going to save you a lot of time. I highly recommend that. Like I said previously, I do have quite a few templates that I do use. I have various templates for each of my clients, varying clients. They have their own title blocks within them and their own layer and class structures within them. So very handy to know in your organization to keep your drawings streamlined and to prevent from getting lost. You're going to be setting up layering and classing structures similar to this. Some organization tools that we have. Over here in your navigation palette where you have your classes, your layers, you have another tab called Saved Views. This tab can also be found over here in the upper left, Saved Views. Right now we don't have any, so we're going to create one. Let's create one using this over here first, because you can create a new save view here, or you can click in the blind and just right click and hit New Save View here. So let's go over here, hit New Saved View. And as you can see, the Save View dialog box comes up and it wants some information. So what are we going to call this view? This view is going to be called Venue No Production. And you're going to see why I do this momentarily, because we want to see this venue drawing in a top plan view without any production elements at all in it. And we're just going to hit OK. And then we're going to right click on it and we're going to duplicate it. Okay, now we want this one to have production in it, one without and one with. So we're going to click the pencil. We're going to retitle this Venue Production. So no production and production. So if you go to no production and you right click on it and you hit edit, you're going to see if you go to the classes button that all those classes we created are in there. Well, we're going to turn all those off because this is view that we want to see. We do not want to have any of those classes in there. Whereas when you go to Venue Production, if you right click and hit edit and go to the classes, you're going to see that they're all turned on because we want to see them. Okay, so there's two separate views that we've created. Now we don't have any production in here now, so I can't show you how it turns on and off. But what I can do to continue this is let's go ahead and go into a right isometric view. There we go. That's what we've created so far. And let's go ahead and throw it into shaded view. Makes it a little easier to see. Zoom in here a little bit. Okay, now let's go ahead and create another view. New. We're going to be a little bit more specific in our naming this time. Right ISO, no production. Okay, and you're going to see how the icon here changed, showing that it's in an isometric perspective view. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to duplicate that. Okay, now remember, this is going to be a right ISO no production, and this is going to be a right ISO with production. So we're going to need to relabel this one. Okay, so let's make sure that the one that is right ISO production, Let's make sure that it has production in the classes turned on, and it does. Now let's go look at Write ISO no production. Right click, edit, and turn these classes off. We do not want to see production in these classes. So again, in your visibility columns, you can highlight all your classes and click the center one for you do not want to see them. Hit OK and hit OK. Now we've quickly created 4 different views. So now when we're working, instead of going up here and navigating to all of your standard views that you want to see and mousing and dragging top and all of these views, and even your view palettes right here where you can click into them. To save yourself all of this mouse time and stuff, we've set up these views. So it's like, okay, let's go to Venue No Production. Let's go to Venue Production. Nothing is going to show yet. Let's go to the Write ISO Production. There it is. And Write ISO No Production. So as we add all these production elements in here, you're going to see that when we toggle between these views, it is going to save us a lot of time clicking. And it's great for presentations too. I'm going to show you this right here. If you select all of these and you hit edit, you can go into the view transition right here, which is Vectorworks preferences. I'm going to hit custom, and I want 3-second smooth transition in between these when I click on them. Right ISO. Oh, you're not going to see any transition here. See how it just kind of snapped in between the two? So what I'm trying to do is make the transition between those views nice and smooth. And right now it's not doing it because over here in my tools, in my options, my Vectorworks preferences, you will see that in display, you must have accelerate graphics turned on. By default, it is turned on. But you want to make sure that accelerate graphics is turned on in order for you to see that change. And also on your interactive tab, you're going to want to make sure that animate view transition is turned on, and you can give it the duration, and you can pick decelerate, accelerate, smooth, or linear to go in between them. But this is how you're going to set up those view transitions over there when you're bumping through them. You need to make sure that these areas are turned on. Animate view transitions in the interactive tab, and accelerate graphics is turned on in the display tab, and that is going to ensure that you can slowly transition in between these save views over here. This is what it looks like. So here's the venue no production that we set up, and like when I changed the view to Write ISO no production, see that nice slow transition of 3 seconds there in between. I'll go back. So that's what that does, the transitioning. And when you have a lot of saved views, it really helps when you're doing presentations with clients. And in some of my previous videos, I instructed how to create an animated movie using these saved previews. So it's very powerful, and you will use this tool to make your animations and your presentations more streamlined. One thing, very important thing, that when you are setting up these views, that they must be in a perspective view, orthogonal. See these here? It can't be in a top plan view like this because it won't do the transitions if it's in a top plan view. You need to be in one of your projection views in order for this to work. I found that very frustrating one time, spent a lot of time even posting comments on forums because my transitions wouldn't work. So not only do you have to have the view transition button clicked and the accelerate graphics button clicked, you have to make sure that when you save your views, you have them set in a projection mode.